All right, man, peace. So coming into the 2017-2018 NBA regular season, I stated that the Philadelphia 76ers were one of my teams to watch because I like what I saw from their roster. When I saw Ben Simmons play in the preseason, he looked dominant, as well as what I had seen from Joel Embiid last year and the carryover that I expected into this season. They have transcended even my own expectations to the point where many so-called high-level NBA pundits are now starting to make prognostications pertaining to them possibly getting to the conference finals. Do I think that they're going to get that far? It's possible. It depends on their seeding. I made a video about a month and a half ago where I stated that if they were to play the Cleveland Cavaliers in the first round, that they would have a very good chance of beating them. Now I believe that if they have a healthy Joel Embiid, they'll have an opportunity to beat anyone that they face in the Eastern Conference, including the Cavaliers. I would still pick Cleveland because they'd have the best player, that being LeBron James. They'd also have experience in the playoffs. They know how to rise up to a playoff level of intensity. And of course, LeBron will have the referees on his side. But if and when Philadelphia does play Cleveland in the playoffs, it's going to be a great learning experience for them. Anyway, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
Philadelphia, I'm not willing to go as far as to say the finals, but the Philadelphia 76ers, whoever they play in the first round, they will beat them. Whoever they play in the second round, they will beat them. The Philadelphia 76ers are going to the conference finals. They will meet Cleveland for the right to represent the East in the NBA Finals. That is what I believe, Max Kellerman. That's what I had to say.
It's amazing to me how the things that I say 2 months ago, many of these so-called top-level NBA television personalities, they come around to saying all the way down the line. You're supposed to be able to see certain things coming before they come.
That's what I had to say. These brothers are no joke.
And let me say this also about the Philadelphia 76ers. When you look at their team metrics line up with NBA championship contenders. When you're amongst the elite in rebounding and defense, you're going to be there near the end of the postseason, assuming that they don't suffer any catastrophic injuries.
I got to give love where it's due.
No, I don't think they're going to beat the Raptors in the conference finals. It's possible. Right. No, because Cleveland ain't getting to the...
Okay. Oh, I got you. I understand. I got you.
Stephen A., you think you're being pretty slick right now. Mm-hmm. You talk about whoever, real cocky, whoever they play in the second round they're going to beat. Who are they likely to play in the second round? So it's not whoever they play in the second round. It's the fact that the Celtics are not going to have Kyrie Irving.
That's true.
Good catch, Max Kellerman. Stephen A. was speaking with a lot of swag there. Like, whoever they drew, they were going to beat. He already knows who they're going to draw.
That's why you're saying that. Now, is it possible the Sixers get to the conference finals? It is possible. The Sixers are good. I've been telling you that for a while. They're good. They can play. They have two transcendent talents.
Markelle Fultz is going to be a major component for them, especially coming off the bench. Once they get to the playoffs, their bench is going to shorten. He most likely is going to be the 6th or 7th man coming off the bench, and he's going to have to perform well for them. He may even have to nullify the effects of the hack of Simmons that I'm sure will be employed at various points throughout the playoffs. He may have to spell Ben Simmons and run the point. So we'll see what happens.
The likes of which have not been seen at those two positions at that age on the same team since Penny and Shaq. I mean, it's that level talent.
Agreed.
I get it. And they can beat the Heat in the first. They could lose to the Heat too, but they could beat the Heat in the first round, and they could beat a Kyrie-less Celtics in the second round, although they could also lose to the Kyrie-less Celtics in the second round.
If I'm the Philadelphia 76ers, I'm hoping that we don't have to play the Miami Heat in the first round, because the Miami Heat are going to give hell to whoever they play. I would like to see them play the Cleveland Cavaliers. I would love to see that series because they have a mental hold on LeBron, especially those games in Miami. He's done his best to avoid playing there, and when he has played there, he has not played well.
And they will not beat the Raptors in the conference final, because I don't even think the Cavs are going to get to the conference final.
Yo, this dude Ben Simmons plays with so much swag, especially when he goes to the basket. Like, he just, he gets in the paint and he acts like he owns it.
They wish the Cavs could get to the conference finals because in spite of their inexperience, maybe they'd have a shot to beat them. Now, I want to mention one thing about the Sixers because as high as I am on them, they're still in the learning process. You know when you hear these cliches, they're still learning how to win. What that means, that's experience in tight games. That's learning to win on the road, second of back-to-backs during the regular season, not taking anything easy. But look at this winning streak they've had, Stephen A., which is forcing people like you now to overrate them after having underrated them all year.
Well, I can kind of understand why Stephen A. Smith is feeling so euphoric about them, because they did have that astounding game last Friday against the Cleveland Cavaliers, one of the best regular season games of the season thus far. And they were able to defeat LeBron without Joel Embiid, who many consider their best player. Now, in light of his injury, some are starting to recalibrate their thoughts about who exactly is the best player on their team. Could it be Ben Simmons? That's a great problem for them to have.
Here, they lose to the Pacers. Now, since then, they beat the Knicks. Stop me when you get to a good team. The Nets, the Hornets, the Grizzlies, the Magic. They did beat the T-Wolves. That's 1 out of 6 games. The Nuggets, the Knicks, the Hawks.
Nuggets is a good win.
That's a good win. That's just 2 good wins.
The Nuggets are a very good win. They're a very strange team, the Denver Nuggets. They can beat anybody or lose to anybody.
I would say 2 good wins. The T-Wolves were at home. It's not like they went on the road to beat Minnesota. The Nuggets were at home. It's not like they went on the road to beat the Nuggets.
Yes, the Nuggets are a very poor road team, but still, that's a good win. They're a young, up-and-coming team, the Philadelphia 76ers are, and you can't read down a list of bad teams that they've beaten to prove that they're not good. That's what good teams do. They beat bad teams, so they're doing what they're supposed to do.
The Hawks, the Hornets, the Nets, the Pistons, they did beat the Cavs, almost epically choked that game away, but they did beat the Cavs and the Mavericks. I mean, they have 3 good wins there, all at home, one of them very close to a loss, and all the rest are against, patsies, as they say. These are teams that are there to be beaten. So let's not. I like the Sixers a lot. I've told you that I take their future over the future of most teams. But right now, they're not quite as good as this winning streak makes them look.
First of all, those are
The NBA Eastern Conference may be a rejuvenation of what the NBA had in the early 1980s, which was a very dogged rivalry between the Boston Celtics and the Philadelphia 76ers. Those are most likely going to be the 2 teams that are going to be fighting for supremacy in the Eastern Conference over the next 5 or 6 years.
Those are very, pristine arguments. Still, nobody's trying to knock that or poo-poo any of those arguments. And for a lesser basketball mind than Stephen A. Smith, it would be very, very valid and very, and almost
Spit it out, Stephen A.
It's surmountable. But what I would tell you is that I pay attention to the level of talent that I'm witnessing more so than the level of competition.
Agreed. The quote-unquote eye test. The Philadelphia 76ers, they passed the quote-unquote eye test with flying colors. They have a great roster, very talented.
Even though I pay attention to that too, I have to take into account what you're doing without Joel Embiid. I have to take into account the maturation process that's taking place before our very eyes with a Ben Simmons. I'm looking at a Ben Simmons, and I'm looking at this kid. If this kid gets a jump shot, it's over. It's over.
Yes, well, if he gets a jump shot, he automatically jumps into consideration as one of the top 5 players in the NBA. Right now, I have him in my top 30. He's around top 30. But if he gets a jump shot, he automatically skyrockets, certainly into the top 10, arguably into the top 5, because of the impact that he has on the basketball floor. I mean, he totally dominates the timing, the pace of the game. He understands how to control the game offensively and defensively. And like I stated, he plays with a lot of swag, especially in the low post. If he gets a mid-range game, much less a long-range game, he's going to skyrocket into arguably one of the top 5 players in the NBA. But he has to improve his free throw shooting and his jump shot in the offseason.
It's over without the jump shot.
Well, listen,
but with the jump shot,
I'm
it's
not going to
ridiculous.
say that because, and again, when I watch LeBron James, let me tell you something right now. Let me say something about LeBron James real quick. Look, he was phenomenal. 44, 11, and 11. It was sensational. But let's be clear.
What's the but?
The brother was a little bit nervous about that free throw line.
Well, we all know that's one of LeBron's Achilles' heels, is his free throw shooting, especially in the clutch. It's just, I guess maybe his shoulders are too damn wide. He can't get his elbow in to make those free throws.
You understand when you needed 3 free throws to tie? You saw it. He was a little shaky, which is why he missed that first one, okay?
His ass shouldn't have been at the free throw line to begin with. That's what I mean when I talk about the refs. They helped the Cleveland Cavaliers out last Friday just to get LeBron to the free throw line, because that was barely a foul, and it certainly should not have been a shooting foul.
A little shaky there, so let's just call it what it is. But the point that I'm trying to make to you is this. At the end of the day, when I look at Ben Simmons, his ball handling skills, his passing ability, his basketball IQ, I'm looking at that, Max, and then what I'm paying attention to most of all is the perimeter shooters. Like, I forgot all about Bellinelli. I forgot all about Bellinelli.
Yes, they have more perimeter shooting than I at first realized. Between Bellinelli and J.J. Redick and Covington, if they can get Markelle Fultz just to be comfortable with a mid-range jumper, they're going to be a problem. They just have to learn how to play with each other. Another 2 years, they're going to be serious NBA title contenders. Who knows? If they can have a magic carpet run, maybe this season. Who the hell knows?
I mean, they can shoot it.
Listen, I'm not saying he can't. Here's my problem. Every time I watch Covington, he misses. Now, I know he makes it, but every time I watch when I watch him, it's like, damn it, when is this guy gonna make a shot when I'm watching him?
On the Sixers, the key player who you haven't really just glossed over.
Listen, I wasn't finished, Max Kelvin. Markelle Fultz.
There it is.
Special.
There it is.
Listen, you need to be quiet. Don't let the media turn against you. You missed 68 games. Be quiet, zip it. But the brother can play.
Well, we know he can play, Stephen A. Smith. He was picked number 1 in the draft. It's very rarely that you're going to have a player drafted number 1 who's under 6'6" that can't play at all. Now, we've seen certain stiffs that were drafted number 1 who were 7 feet, 7'1". Michael Olowokandi, Anthony Bennett. I'm not quite sure if he was 7 feet or not, but point being, we've seen extremely tall basketball players who were picked number 1 overall who we found out couldn't play a lick. It's very rare that you have players picked that are 6'6" or under that absolutely can't play, not even a little bit. So, I mean, we knew the brother could play. He just had a mental issue that he had to move past, and he's in the process of moving past it. He's going to be essential for them in their playoff run, however long it lasts, because he is going to have to be that intermediary between Ben Simmons and their outside jump shooters. He's going to have to fill a little bit of a utility role for them.
You know where he's showing himself? On the defensive end. He has length. He has much more length than I realized. And by the way, you brought up T.J. McConnell. Actually, those minutes are going to Fultz now.
I understand that, but it's going to Fultz for a reason, because Fultz can do things offensively that T.J. McConnell can't do.
Of course.
But there's
T.J. McConnell, not McCollum. You guys are mixing C.J. McCollum with T.J. McConnell.
But there's a role for T.J. McCollum, there's no question. So when I'm looking at all of this, I'm looking at 3 components. The maturation of Ben Simmons, the perimeter shooters, and the depth. Fresh, young bodies. Mm-hmm. And so I'm looking at the combination of all of that, along with that Philly crowd. Oh, Lord have mercy. Going into, this is personal experience. Going into Philadelphia, when these brothers have that crowd behind them, when they are hyped and they can ball like they can ball, it is a hostile environment that everybody doesn't want to be in. This stuff, I'm just telling y'all right now, 76 is going to the conference finals. And they got Miami in the first round. You know how I feel about Miami.
Series, but they should be favored.
They should be favored.
That's going to be a very tough series, though. Miami is going to be ready to play mentally. I don't know if they're going to have the horses to run with Philadelphia. But you got to watch out for that guy, Kelly Olynyk. He's going to pull somebody's arm out the socket before that series is over. That dude is a real arm snatcher.
They should beat Miami. If their perimeter shooting will come down to their perimeter shooting against Miami, because Miami struggles in that department. The Sixers obviously are looking better. It will be tough. But I'm telling you right now, looking at the Sixers, I'm very impressed with what I'm seeing. And I'm starting to get excited. I'm starting to get excited.
Here's the thing about Redick. When Redick's playing like this,
right?
It's not just that he can shoot. We know he can shoot. It's that he can shoot for a guy who can play. You know, there's a difference between having a shoot around on the floor who can't do anything else and a guy who can actually hold his own and play some ball.
Yeah, I mean, Redick he's not a stiff out there. J.J. Redick, he reminds me a lot of a player that I grew up watching with the Chicago Bulls, that being John Paxson. John Paxson for about a 2-year stretch, and brothers who grew up in that era can testify to this. from about 1990 to about 1992, this dude never missed a mid-range jump shot. Every time Jordan or Pippen kicked out to this guy, he made the jump shot. Go look at Game 5 of the 1991 NBA Finals. Down the stretch, John Paxson must have hit about 6 or 7 straight mid-range jumpers. That guy's mid-range jump shot was unbelievable. If J.J. Redick can provide that same service for the Philadelphia 76ers, that'd be a great thing. Point being is this, John Paxson could also hold his own on the defensive end. He was not just some stiff. Of course, Isaiah Thomas would have his way, as he would against anybody else, but it wasn't like Paxson was just getting blown by. Redick can provide a similar service. But Markelle Fultz is going to be essential if they're going to go anywhere in the playoffs, because they are going to need him to guard other teams' best guard. Like, for example, if Kyrie was playing, he'd have to have some time guarding Kyrie. If they face John Wall, Kyle Lowry, they're going to have to put him on those guys, because J.J. Redick will not be able to deal with them for long stretches.
And can shoot the lights out. And that's what he's been recently, meaning he can get 30 minutes a game, and that makes them very, very tough.
What you're also saying is this. We've made a lot of noise about the Clippers because of the absence of CP3.
Yeah.
We almost forgot they lost J.J. Redick, too.
Very good point.
J.J. Redick
Yep.
with CP3 in that backcourt has had a catastrophic effect
Yep.
on the Los
But
Angeles.
of course,
No, bro, I don't think so. I think that you went too far. Lou Williams has taken the place of J.J. Redick and totally superseded anything that J.J. Redick could have done. But they have truly felt the loss of CP3. But that team wasn't going anywhere anyway. They had a very toxic culture.
all eyes on Ben Simmons averaging a triple-double over that stretch. All right,
But anyway, that's it on this Philadelphia 76ers topic. We'll see where they're going to go. The NBA playoffs are starting this Sunday. So we'll see. We'll see how precocious they actually are, if they're ready or if they still need to wait a year or two more. But anyway, peace.